We're live.
All right. Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kat, for making this happen and for the opportunity to do a quick session about Tuva and what we're doing. My name is Herschel, and I am one of the founders of Tuva, and we're based here in New York City. But today we have educators, community college professors, and students all across 50 states and over 65 countries around the world, using Tuva to learn basic data analysis, statistics, and visualization skills and concepts. So with that, I just want to give you a quick demo of the kinds of things that you can do on Tuva today. So let's just get started. Just going to turn on my screen share here. And I'm going to jump to tuvalabs.com. So the website is tuvalabs.com. And when you're there, you'll kind of land on this page. And it's in order to get started, the first thing to do is just to kind of create your teacher account. So just go to sign up, click on I'm a teacher, and just very quickly put in your email address and pick a username. I'm just going to pick a and as soon as you sign up, it's you can also sign in with Google. It's giving me an error, so I'm just going to use a different email name. Well, this one's also in use. Let's just use a dummy one for now. As soon as you sign up, the first thing that we do is kind of help you set up your first class, and so you can provide your school or organization name. So I'm going to put Tuva here, a grade. You don't necessarily have to have a grade, but you can just put other here if you don't want to include a specific grade, and give it a section. So test section, just some basic information so that you're able to figure out what this is. And so once you create your class, what we do is there's a unique class code. In this case, this is a class code that we generate for your class. And the idea here is that you can share this with your students, and your students can join directly using the class code. And I can show that to you later. And we actually send you this class code via email, so you don't really have to copy it down or anything like that. And that's why it's important to actually use an email that you use pretty regularly, because you'll need the class code. So now that you've gotten started, this is where really the fun stuff starts. So I'm just going to ignore the add to Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter to get the latest updates. But in order to start jumping in, essentially, what we're doing at Tuva is making the act of exploring, analyzing, and visualizing data what is turning out to be a really essential skill at all levels of society. In education, it's being emphasized to the Common Core and the next generation science standards. At the higher education level, community colleges and four-year universities are emphasizing quantitative reasoning and statistical thinking. And of course, in the employment market, employers are now looking for people who are proficient in data and are able to use data to make better decisions on a day-to-day basis. And you might have heard in the media that the data scientist job is going to be one of the most in-demand jobs for this decade. and there's just a ton of demand for these skills. And part of the challenge is that is numbers, and it's really hard to start digging into it unless you have some really powerful tools at your disposal, and that's what we're offering. So to get started, here on the Datasets tab, what we have is a wide variety of data sets. Each one of these blocks that you see here is a data set around a specific topic. So here's a data set on viruses and bacteria. Here's a really, fun data set on the heights of political leaders, survivors of the Titanic. There's cycles of the moon, earth, and sun, the Holocaust. There is Pixar versus DreamWorks, global climate change. We have many, many data sets, and that's really one of the biggest advantages of this kind of approach is that any student can dive into data analysis and visualization by choosing a data set that's of interest to them. Let's just pick a data set. I'm going to search for a data set from actually a real experiment, a real activity that took place in San Francisco a few months ago. So in San Francisco at AT&T Park, there was an activity that took place where kids and adults came in and participated in measuring their height and their arm span. So that was something that they measured. And here's a data set that kind of describes, here's that data set. So when you load the page, you scroll down at the bottom, and what you come across is the actual environment. And seems to be there's a lot happening here, but it's actually really simple. So the first thing to understand is that there's three components to it. The first component is this case card that you can open and close via this button. This is the actual raw data. You've got tools in the middle, and I'll show you some of these tools. And then you've got activities on the right side here that you can close and open as such. And these activities are meant to be kind of learning experiences. So they can be used in a classroom environment, they can be used as homework, they can be used in an after-school program, they can be used in a variety of different ways. And these activities are essentially, so here's an activity called Are People Squares or Rectangles? This was created by another educator at San Francisco School District. And so you can view the entire activity by just clicking on the view button, and here it is, and kind of see what the experience looks like. Or you can actually just try it out yourself as a teacher, and you can see what your students will be able to, what kind of activity your students will be engaging in. So in this case, you're actually trying out the activity. You get questions and directions, and the idea is that you follow the instructions, you maneuver the data, you visualize it, you come up with insights, and then you answer the questions. So the activities are something that lots of teachers engage their students in, but there's a lot more to it. So let's say for now we close the activity and we just dive into the data. So the table view here is the format that we're all familiar with when it comes to data. It's a spreadsheet, row and column format. The column headers describe the attributes. So we have name, the age, the gender, the height, and the arm span. Remember, these are the two things that were measured for each participant in this activity. And this is kind of the format that we're all familiar with. What we're doing at Tuva is putting it in a different kind of representation in what is called a case card. So you can flip through these different cases for the 300 participants and look at and get all the different raw data points. So the way to get started with this is let's just do some basic exploration. Let's just figure out how many from all these participants, how many were males and how many were females. And so the way we can do that is just grab the gender attribute, put it on the x-axis, and there you go. Now you're able to get at least a visual representation that there were more females than males. Well, what is the exact number? You can actually just get a count and even a percent. And so you can see that of the 300 participants in this activity, 165 of them were females and 135 of them were males. And so with that, you can restart by pressing the mix-up button. The mix-up button is kind of the randomized state where all the data points are laid in a very random fashion across the canvas. And again, let's restart by looking at, well, what age was represented in this activity? So you can grab the age attribute, put it here on the x-axis, and now you have the distribution of age. So you have kids, you had participants that were as young as 1 and as old as 68. And so you can see the kind of distribution of age, and then if you wanted to, again, look at it from a gender perspective, you can split it by gender, and you can see the distribution for males and for females. And so this is the point of Tuva. I don't want to dive too much into this particular data set, but the really fun part and what the learning is all about on Tuva is all about making the act of exploring and analyzing and visualizing data really fun and easy for you and for your students. And it's not just about creating simple scatter plots. You can create all kinds of graphs. So let's create a little, let's look at the height, and let's look at that from a bar chart perspective. So I've got height on the y-axis. I'm going to click on bar, and I'm going to create my bar chart. And so here's what that looks like. And then I can, again, click on gender, and it will order by gender. So here's the distribution of the bar graph for the heights split by gender. I can do something else. I can create a little histogram of the distribution of the arm span. So I can put arm span here and click on the histogram button, and it will automatically put these into individual buckets. So here are my buckets for the histogram. I can change my buckets here to really explore, which range of arm span, what range of arm span were most of the participants in. So that range is 50 to 55 inches was the most common. And then I can look at my mean if I want to and see what that looks like. So here's the mean, and here's the median. So the goal with this environment is that kids as young as 6 or 7-year-olds all the way out to high school and even college kids can dive into the data and maneuver it, visualize it, and really be able to explore it in a way that they would never be able to do with tools like Excel or other things that are out there. And really, it's all about making it easy and fun for them to do so. As part of your work, you can engage them in these activities, or you can just give them an opportunity to dive into the data that of their choice around a topic that's of interest to them, and come up with observations and visualizations that that might be interesting, and that could tell them some information that they wouldn't have been able to figure out otherwise. One quick thing there is that you can, let's say you create a visualization that you're interested in. You can save it as an image and download it if you ask them to create a report, or you can ask them really to save all their work and tackle some of these activities, and be able to get insights on the kinds of questions and responses your students are able to come up with. Other resources that we have available, so you saw the datasets tab as where all the datasets are. You can click on your dashboard to create additional classes if you have many students or if you have other sections, and you can do that by just clicking on the Add Class tab here. You can actually also upload your own data, so this is a really cool feature where if kids or you yourself are uploading or are collecting your own data, you can upload it here via your Google Drive, your Dropbox, or even just uploading a CSV file. We also have kind of a community section where you can discuss all kinds of issues with other teachers. And so we have dataset requests, we have teachers talking about Ebola in the classroom, about specific things like midterm elections, and all kinds of different topics. And so feel free to introduce yourself and use the community section as a way to get answers to questions that you might have. And in addition to that, we also have a fairly comprehensive resources section where we make available videos, example activities, and a more pedagogical framework for teachers who want to create their own activities around specific data sets. So that's essentially the resources that we have here. We have a frequently asked questions section and all kinds of things. But the core part of Tuva lays in the data sets themselves and the tools that really make a lot of this data accessible and fun and human for you and for your students. If you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to us via the community section, or you can also contact us as well. You know, our contact information is right here at the bottom of the page in the contact us section. And otherwise, I hope that you and your students have a wonderful time engaging, exploring, visualizing all kinds of data and coming up with their own insights and really being able to learn the foundational skills of statistics and data that are becoming so critical for us as a society and that are really important as part of what's required and what's going to be tested in education. So with that, I think I'm done. Kat, any specific thing that you want me to revisit, or any questions that you think I should address for your teachers?
No, I think that's great. And if any questions do come up, obviously I'll reach out to you and get them answers. I think what we're really looking forward to is how they're going to utilize the tool this month and then the feedback they get us. So I'll make sure to share with you the badge entries that they do for the tool of the month at the end of the month and let you know how they used it in the classroom and kind of take it from there. I really appreciate you leading today's webinar and look forward to working together more.
Yep, same here. Thank you again, and I hope you guys have a fun time. And I think it will be a wonderful learning experience, both for you and for your students. If there's anything that we can do in the meantime, feel free to reach out, and we're always here.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Everybody.